The sun'll come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow there'll be sun. Just thinking about tomorrow clears away the cobwebs.
Whoa. I think Barry blew that intro somehow.
Hello.
Hi. Is it your Wi-Fi that's screwing this thing up or what?
Well, I'm on my phone now, so we're just gonna have to from the phone. That's okay.
Oh.
You know, we got this right so many times this year. Now in the last one before the election, obviously things go sour.
Yeah. The good news is I think we've already beaten Donald Trump, right?
I don't think so. I don't think we have beaten Donald Trump yet.
Oh.
No, I think we have like 4 more days. People got to go vote and stuff, and you know, we might even put up a few new videos. Who knows? This thing is, you know, just because we're in a pandemic doesn't mean we get to stop. We get to have Halloween tomorrow, though.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like you're in the spirit.
What makes you say that?
Yeah. Your face looks funny.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We're going to be spiders this year. We're in a family of spiders for Halloween.
Okay. Well, listen, welcome everybody to the very last modestly technically challenged RVAT live stream, Republican voters against Trump. As Tim said, this is our last one before the election. We are super excited to have you all here. More importantly, we are so grateful that everybody has been with us this whole election and has been hanging out with us on these live streams. I don't even know why we started doing these, but they turned out to be really fun and love seeing everybody in the chat. But you know, for this last one, we thought what we'd do. A lot of times we've had Luke Skywalker on and Ben Stiller and former Governor Christine Todd Whitman. Yeah.
Why wasn't I invited to the Ben Stiller one?
There's all kinds of things we don't invite you to.
Got
yeah,
it.
we have like a whole "Don't tell Tim this is even happening" for about half the stuff.
Great.
Yeah, sorry. It was really cool though.
I'm balancing this on a plant right now. Look at that. All right, now I'm ready. We're balanced on a plant. I'm gonna go turn that light off so you can see me. You take us from here, Sarah.
Okay. So we thought what we would do for this last one, though, is bring in some of the Republican voters against Trump contributors. You know, this has been an interesting project to execute because its success or failure always hinged on one thing, which is, were there going to be Republican voters who were voting for Joe Biden, or at least not going to vote for Donald Trump, who were going to be willing to speak out and tell their stories and talk about why they weren't going to vote for Donald Trump. And, you know, you may have noticed, we live in a somewhat toxic political culture. And so it wasn't clear to us up front that we would be able to get a lot of people. We knew there were a lot of disaffected Republicans. We've heard from them the last 4 years, but we weren't sure if people would be willing to put themselves out there and to state their case on camera. And so I think that, I know I speak for Tim and Bill when I say the most exciting, heartening thing about this project was the fact that after we launched with our first 100, that first core group that we had to kind of say, kind of talk into doing it, even when they didn't know quite what the project was going to look like, that after that, testimonials have been flooding in from the time that we launched. We have about 1,000 now, and it really is, even from just like a project standpoint, to have 1,000 people be willing to lend their voices, to have people that you put their faces on billboards, it's close to a miracle. And it's a testament to how brave and honest people wanted to be, how important it was to them to stand up and do something in this moment. And we couldn't have done it without all the people who've contributed to RVAT. And so today, what we'd like to do is invite some of our early adopters on, some of the people who helped us from the jump build this project. You know, behind the scenes, we talked to so many of these contributors, and like, we've gotten to know a lot of them really well, and have become friends with them. And Tim, I'll let you say something about it too, but I'm just always so proud and in awe of what everybody helped us build. Because, you know, I talk a lot about the focus groups that I do, and I do a lot of, you know, PR work. How do you persuade people? How do you communicate messages? And one of the things we knew going into this was that just regular traditional political ads weren't going to cut it. It was going to need to be to persuade the kind of voters we wanted to persuade, which was sort of reluctant Trump voters, people who are uncomfortable with him, people who are on the fence. It was going to take a different kind of messenger. It was going to take real people, because that's who people trusted. And we knew we had to build a new tribe of Republicans who weren't going to support Trump. And that's what this whole project's been about. But Tim, I'll let you say something before we invite some of our contributors on.
Yeah, I'm just so happy they're going to be here. And to Sarah's point, I wasn't even sure we were going to get 100. Sarah, I felt like, had an ambitious goal to get 100. I was like, well, we really only need kind of like 12, right? We get 12 people, we put them on TV ads, and boom, like, this project's done. And so, like, that was the advertising component of this. The whole community component of it was because of you guys, who watched them and shared them, but most of the people who did a video for us. And I think we have Dave coming on, right? You know, the cheerleaders, people who cheerleaded other sporters, helped give them the courage to do it. And look, there is a lot of evidence out there that this made a difference, and we can get into the math and all that if we want to. But I think at a personal level, I know that a lot of people felt lonely. I felt lonely politically, and you know, to hear from other folks and to see them have the courage to come forward, to put trust in us, to tell their story well, and to risk, I think, you know, pushback from random weird Russian trolls on Twitter, but pushback from their family members, pushback in their communities. It just showed a lot of courage from everyday folks, courage we didn't really see from pretty much anybody in Washington. And you know, it gets me a little dusty watching these videos sometimes. So I'm not going to cry right now, but maybe Cheves or Dave or whoever we're bringing on, our surprise guest, will make me cry. We'll see.
You know, and I'm just going to say really quickly on that point, you know, for all of us, it's been a difficult political season. You know, fighting Donald Trump from within the Republican Party can feel soul crushing oftentimes. And I can't tell you, I watch every single video, and they are the thing that has cheered me up every day more than anything else, is just seeing you guys being willing to go out there and say what you believe. It's just been the best. And so I want to thank everybody who submitted a video, everybody who's cheered us on online, everybody who's shared the content. But mostly, I want to thank the people who've participated in the program. Also, since I haven't done it, and I should, want to thank all the people on our team, you know, the RVAT team. If you guys made a video or submitted a video, you've probably worked with JJ or Connor or Ansley, maybe Barry or Ben or Megan. And our team built this really awesome project. And I'm really proud of everything we've done. Win, lose, or hopefully not draw, but on Tuesday, I'm proud of this. I'm proud of this project, and I'm proud of all of you. So with that, Barry, who's our first guest? Ooh, it's Dave.
Here I am.
Hey, Dave. It's Dave. I'm not sure how early did you submit an RVAT video?
Oh Lord, it was. I think I predated RVAT. I think it was originally for Republicans for the Rule of Law.
Oh, back when we were like in beta mode, we were still trying to figure out, like, we didn't have a name for it yet. We were still trying to figure out how to build it, huh?
I think the first one that went out, I was on with Charlie Sykes and a few other Pennsylvania people. It was early.
Well, one of the things that I have loved about Dave is Dave. I have two things, actually. The first thing is every single time we post a video on Twitter, Dave is the first comment thanking the person who did it. And it has been such a relentlessly positive, presence to have you just on there cheerleading everybody. And so I really appreciate that, number one. And number two, you let us put your face on a billboard in Pennsylvania.
And I have it on reliable information that there's significantly less animal traffic along the.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I was going to say, Dave, I'm so grateful to you too. And look, Dave's little cheery reply. This might seem like nothing, but at the start of this, I think a lot of people were afraid to come forward because they didn't want to take the heat. And we heard this from people, and the social media heat, it's real, and it's, it can hurt your feelings. You're putting out this video, and then immediately you're getting these responses, and it's like MAGA people calling you an idiot, and then like random jerks who say like, nice haircut, and other stuff. And so to know, it was just comforting to tell everybody, to be able to tell folks, like, you don't have to worry about it. We'll post this up, and Dave's going to give you an attaboy, boom, right out of the gate. Start the conversation positive. So thank you so much for doing that, Dave.
I mean, that was part of trying to establish the community and let people know that it was okay to vote against Trump, or at least not vote for Trump. So,
have you talked to other folks off of that for Twitter? Have you made any RVAT friends?
Oh yeah. I've got a regular group of folks that we all kind of continue to prop each other up and help motivate each other. It's.
And do they tend to like me or Sarah better? Just if you had to do a straw poll.
Yeah. Okay. I'm having some audio problems.
Okay, you can tell me later about how it's me. I know. It's okay.
Yeah. So what, Dave? I'd like to hear a bit about. Obviously we're in COVID times, so you're not out at the store and stuff as much as you would have been in a different year. But among your kind of friends and family in Pennsylvania, what do you feel? What's the feeling on the ground there a couple days out? Well, and how does it compare to 2016?
I'm going to stick my neck out. I mean, where I live is suburban Pittsburgh, southern Allegheny County. Allegheny County is going to kick Trump's butt, I think. I think from looking what I've seen, it's significantly. I think the city is going to, the voters in the city are going to come out. I think the suburban people are going to come out. I don't see, I know signs are all anecdotal, but my gut feel is that tide is turned, and you're going to see a lot more Biden voters. I've looked at some of the FEC information that the New York Times has published, as far as people who have donated. In my zip code, it's like 5-1 Biden, which is, I think, unheard of. It, certainly within the last 10 years, it's changed a bunch. I look at PA 17, which is where I live, northern Allegheny County and Beaver County. Beaver County is where Trump's going again, and he's been making a big push there. But Connor Lamb, who's the Democrat, is, I think he's going to win that race. So it kind of gives you a feel for where we're at, I think.
What about just the response? I mean, so you're there in the Pittsburgh group, so you're not really in the thick of Trump country, but at the billboard, besides scaring away the deer, You know, what kind of response have you gotten from folks? I'm assuming you've heard from old colleagues or friends or whatever.
Surprisingly, even the ones that I am not so sure that they won't be voting Trump, they haven't said anything negative. You know, I think I'm not sure that they would tell me one way or another, but I've not had any real big negative pushback. The comments have been more positive than not from people I know. But there are also people who, you know, probably lean Biden anyway. But I think people just, I think it hits home for them when they see somebody taking a participation or being a participant in the process. I think that's something that's, I think, good for people to see. I think they've been enjoying it. I don't know. I mean, I think these things have been great. I get a lot of positive comments about what I've done as a group.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. I don't know if anybody noticed, we've got a real celebrity on the line now. Bill Kristol's joined us. In his
not as famous as Dave now with all the billboards, you know. And
nobody's on a billboard in Pennsylvania. That's, you know.
Me, you think that'd get a lot of votes? Trust me. Yeah. There. Why did you already explain why Tim is wearing totally bizarro, weirdo, hipster glasses? Is that a?
It's a spider. This is a spider. It's Halloween tomorrow. I'm getting in
this is what all the people watching. This is what I have to put up with, frankly, all the time. But it's been worth it, you know. It's to defeat Trump.
I'm so upset. I also had a spider crown I was going to wear that I misplaced, and I was late for it. So we just have the glasses in the ring. Dave, I had one other question for you before we lose you. When I first encountered you, you told me that you were more conservative than Attila the Hun. Which I liked as a line as an RVAT member. Now that Kelly Loeffler's out there stealing that from you, do you want to edit that back at all, or where do you stand now?
I might have been engaging in a little bit of hyperbole at the person I was having the conversation with. It seemed like an appropriate comment at the time, but no, I think. Boy, it seems like I was a lot more conservative when I was younger because I think I thought I had all the answers. And now that I've gotten older, I realize that not only do I not have all the answers, I'm not even sure that I have all the questions. But you know, there's a lot of things that I think were COVID and a lot of this whole business with 4 years of Trump. I think we need to take a good solid look at some modernization in our processes and some, I don't know, we just need to start treating people nicer than we have in the past. I think it's important to do that.
Well, Dave, I know I speak for everybody at RVAT to say you have been one of our biggest champions. We love you and talk about you around the office. We just think you're the best, and we can't thank you enough for being one of the early adopters who helped make this a success. And bummer for you, we probably won't let you go after the election either. So
I'm waiting and willing to see what happens.
We got to rebuild the
just deliver a big margin. All this happy talk is nice, but just deliver a big margin in Allegheny County.
I'm working on it.
I like Conor Lamb personally, so it's fine with me if he wins too, though we're not involved in the congressional level. And you know, one thing I've been noticing, Sarah and Tim, all this nice talk about it, which is all true. You know, there's still 3 days left. There's still 70 million Americans who haven't voted, and you all really should circulate your own videos and other people's videos that you think would be appropriate to friends and family and, you know, others that you know, associates. If you think veterans would like us to see one of the veterans who's on the RVAT site, I mean, let's not, you know, sit around for the next 3 days enjoying. I mean, it's been great, honestly, and I totally agree with Sarah and Tim about what it's really generally been a moving experience for me personally. But let's keep the pedal to the metal here for 3 more days. And I do think, you know, you all have a good sense, the people especially who are on this call, more active types, of which videos might work with what people. And so circulate your own, but also other people's. On Facebook and elsewhere, because I think every vote could end up counting. So thank you.
Yeah, let's kick his ass. And yeah, just on that point, to Bill, to people watching, you know, people are inundated with ads right now. They're sick of the ads. They aren't watching the ads. You know, they're tuning them out. But if you're posting on Facebook and say, hey, I saw this video from Dave in Pennsylvania and it moved me because X, your friends on Facebook will watch that, right? And so, and then it gets shared, and you know, there is a kind of network effect associated with that. So, I could not reiterate that more. That is something that everybody should do, and a lot of the lower info voters who haven't voted and haven't decided, they are getting info on Facebook right now, in particular. And so, absolutely, everybody should be doing that.
Okay, guys, since we can only have 4 squares, I think, or maybe that's not it. I'm actually making an excuse. I'm jumping off. We're bringing in somebody new. Barry, show us who our next guest is, and I'll see all the rest of you guys on the other side.
Uh-oh. Who's going to be? I can't handle the suspense.
Jeez, you got it there? You can see? Tim can't see out of his glasses, so he doesn't know. He can't see you there, you know?
Hey!
We're down from Pennsylvania to Texas now, you know?
That's right.
Tell everybody
in the Great Republic.
Introduce yourself. Where are you beaming in from? Give us the spiel.
Well, I am in Dallas, Texas. Cheves Ligon. I'm in my late 30s and been a Republican my whole life, and this was a unique year, and I'm very pleased to find y'all in the middle of the sea, of the rough sea that we've all been going through. So it's been a pleasure and a real privilege to be a part of this great group.
All right, I'm going to put you on the spot here in a minute, Cheves, but let's talk good stuff first. There's also a sea of our people moving towards Joe Biden's camp, and you're at the center of it there in Dallas. And so, what is your sense, you know, as far as things on the ground? I think when you submitted this video, I think I kind of laughed at you when you suggested we should be doing some stuff in Texas, and here we are on the brink of election day, and Joe Biden might actually win the damn thing. So, what are you feeling down there?
It's a very unique situation. I'm also originally from the Carolinas, and South Carolina has gotten weird in a similar way that Texas has gotten weird. People feel very different this time around. The Republicans that I know who are supportive of Trump, a whole lot of them are doing so with a heavy conscience, and they're uneasy about it. And there's a lot of, you know, shy Biden voting, I think, going on, where people whisper you that, hey, look, I've never done this before, but I've got to vote for this guy. I can't vote for Trump anymore. In the suburbs, in a place like Dallas, where you would have normally had a heavy Republican footprint, it's looking very different this year. And folks who had normally been reliable on the Republican side without question have had a lot of trouble this time. So even so looking at it from both perspectives, I think you've seen a lot of Republicans who are going to vote for Trump but don't like it. That's not a healthy sign if you're on the Trump team, that a lot of folks, particularly on in the Christian world, we're all painted as these brainless Trumpers. There's a lot of antipathy and unease. So you've seen that in Texas. You've seen that especially in the professional class, the doctors, lawyers, bankers, real estate folks who, you know, normally would be just give me a tax cut and a couple of judges and I'm fine. This has been a little different, and if not a tectonic shift, we can tell yet, certainly a noticeable.
Yeah, we've done, as you know, done some stuff in Texas, somewhat to our surprise. In the last couple of weeks, Olivia Troy, who worked in the Trump administration on the coronavirus task force and finally couldn't take it anymore and quit, is from El Paso, and she's done both videos and actually we turned one of them into an ad, both in English and Spanish. It's playing some down there. Hopefully it'll make a little bit of a difference. But anyone on this call who has friends and colleagues and associates in Texas, which I got to think is pretty much everyone, since Texas is a huge state. And I really think anything you can do there is important, because the truth is, if Biden wins Texas, he won't need Texas to win. But But I think for the future of the Republican Party, which a lot of us care about, and of the country, it would make a big difference if Texas went, or even if honestly super close, but I'd say especially if it goes for Biden, it would be a kind of repudiation of Trump and Trumpism. It's a little different than if Biden just wins the upper Midwest states and it's kind of back to, a minor, a 5-6 point victory, and kind of nothing fundamental seems to have changed. So, I mean, Florida and North Carolina would be great, and Georgia would be really great, but Texas would just be so huge. And so I think anyone who can weigh in Texas, even if you're not personally in Texas, would be great. And I've sensed the same thing. I'm Jewish, so I'm not exactly in the Christian world and so forth, but I have a lot of friends who are, honestly. And I feel like at some point, just the total kind of the collapse, frankly, of so much of that, of the evangelical community to just, or at least of the leaders and the most visible people in it to be for Trump. A lot of people just thought, well, that's not, I may have voted for him. I like the judges. I'm pro-life, et cetera. That's one thing. But the Franklin Graham and, Jared Falwell Jr. and stuff do not speak for me. And that's a terrible image, a terrible message to be sending others, that that's somehow what we stand for. So I kind of think there's an awful lot of soft Biden voters and people who kind of assumed they were going to vote for Trump, but maybe are rethinking this last week in that world. And so I think any of our RVAT members who are in touch with that world much more frankly than I am, they could really do a lot of good by doing some work there.
Yeah, and just on that point,
the big thing.
No, go ahead, Jim.
The big thing though on that is people my age grew up in the Clinton era, and Bill, that's when I first got to know who you were. You were on TV once or twice during that time, and we as Republicans we were different. We believed in virtue and character. And that doesn't have to be self-righteous or unrealistic, but we were standing for something different. And it didn't matter what the politics of it were. It didn't matter that Bill Clinton was really popular, and it didn't matter that the economy was good, that this was something that Christians were teaching their children, that you can't look up to leaders who act like this. And, at least Bill Clinton knew how to pretend to go to church and knew how to hold a Bible upright. So it's been incredibly dispiriting. I wanted to say this, though. I've talked to folks who have had videos, and it's been difficult at times, but gotten pushback from family. I've lost a couple of relationships over it, unfortunately, just not from my willingness, but from theirs. But it's also been such a balm for us to see that there are other folks out there, because I'm sure, if you talk to anybody who does these videos, we've had the sense over time of, am I crazy? Am I the only one seeing this? That he's this way and all these other Republicans seem fine with it, and 20 minutes ago we were saying we're something else. And so it's been really encouraging and an enjoyable thing. And I've gotten to know some folks over as far as Texas, and also sort of, this is bigger than you think. Coming up after me is Monica. It turns out Monica and I worked together in the same office for about a week. And we had no idea. We had no idea that either one of us thought this way or felt this way. I just knew she was a smart lawyer who'd come to work in our office as I was getting ready to leave. And I saw her name on one of these lists, and I said, wait a minute, I think I know who that is. And it turns out, so we are legion. We are everywhere.
That's great. There was something good in the water there. I want to, and I just want to just really quick just continue at this point on the Christian vote here, because I wrote something for the Bulwark last weekend. I think it was called A Message to Reluctant Trumpers of Good Faith. That was talking to my friends and family who see Trump. These are not the red hat people. These people you're talking about, Cheves. They see him for who he is. They're embarrassed to vote for him. In these last 3 days, to Bill's point, that article, but Cheves' video, the other videos from we've had a lot of people who have spoken about their faith, posting those on Facebook and sending them to your friends. Not voting for anybody, sitting it out, is a win. So I've been saying this from the start. This is the reason we're called Republican voters against Trump, is if you voted for Trump last time and you sit it out this time, that's the same net gain for Biden as if you voted for McMullen last time and you're voting for Biden this time, right? And so we can still get to those people, if they're having their pangs of conscience in these last 3 days, let them vote for John Cornyn and write in Ronnie Reagan at the top of the ticket, whatever. That's a win for us. So, I think it's important for folks to do. Cheves, what I wanted to ask you about two things. One, the Harris County numbers are absurd right now as far as the turnout in Texas. Are you seeing what is your sense for that? Like, do you think that there are people that just weren't voting because Texas was never a swing state? Anti-Trump stuff, or just anecdotally in your life, are you sensing any of that at all? Or are you sort of in a community of people who vote, so it's hard to say?
I think there's no one explanation. I think we'd be wrong to not acknowledge that COVID and being at home has incentivized people to get out a little bit, and it's a socially acceptable reason to get out of the house. There is, if Texas were going to blow out Joe Biden, there are a lot of Republicans in our position who either were going to not vote or vote for Joe Biden. There's no reason to come out. And so I think there's a lot of pent up feelings that now our vote matters. And look, I'm a big believer in the Electoral College, but at the same time, it's still a lowercase d Democratic country. And for the first time in a lot of people's lives, their votes will matter. And so you're hearing it anecdotally, you're seeing the numbers. I mean, we hit, I think yesterday in early voting, the same amount of voting we had in 2016, period. So it's not anecdotal. It's not, well, I have lots of friends who are. I mean, this is huge. And typically, I'll let the experts talk about who votes early and all that. But I think there's reason to believe that we've seen a shift in people's thinking in places like Texas that are heartening, because Texas for the longest time was a different kind of Republican state. George W. Bush was very popular with Hispanics and was not a recalcitrant heathen jerk. Rick Perry did well with Hispanics in the early days for a reason. Texas Republicans were more moderate on immigration issues and had a different tone, certainly a different tone than what things are now. So that in and of itself says that there's going to be a little something different.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you don't mind, I do think that it's important to just talk about, I think that there are a lot of people, let's talk to the shy Biden voters out there a little bit and the value of what, you've gotten out of speaking out, because I think it sucks that you've had, some people in your life that have wanted to tell you that to pound sand over this. But the positive side of that is so huge and so important. It's the whole reason why we're doing all this. So if you just want to get into that a little more and what you've experienced, what you've heard, would appreciate it.
Sure. So I'm used to doing unpopular things. I'm a lawyer, so I put my name to a lot of arguments that a lot of people necessarily wouldn't like. This was completely different. Out of the woodwork came people who I thought were really close friends and family members who professed undying love, and who not just confused or even angry, but hostile. I'll go on the record, and Tim, you can back me up. I've received exactly $0 from the good folks at RVAT.
That is true.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
$0. $0.
Yeah,
we didn't even
submitted
send you a pin. We made you pay for the RVAT hat you had to buy. You got nothing from us.
Yeah, I had to buy that sign that someone threw away. Someone threw it. But that is unfortunate. That's on the one end of the spectrum. In the middle, it's been actually really healthy to talk to friends and family who are Trump supporters who say, I have respect for you. Why is this? Well, what about this? What about pro-life? And what about the socialist element within the Democratic Party? Do you really want Joe Biden to be president? And so for so long, this was all kind of kept under wraps. So instead, it provided a lot of opportunity to say, no, I don't believe that, or I do believe this for this reason. So that the dialogue that it created with people who I know are going to pull the lever for Trump still was useful from a personal standpoint. There are people who I probably am closer friends with now who cannot fathom why I won't vote for Donald Trump, but we had an open and honest conversation about it, and we respect each other more for it. On the other side, people come out of the woodwork who I haven't talked to in years and said, "Hey, this is great, and I hope you're doing well," and it's ironically enough opened up a couple professional opportunities for me. And
all right,
but I think
so they were
yeah,
right. You did do
it
this.
does, yeah. So I have to send y'all money after all. No, again, haven't made any money. But I think just it's a healthy thing to be honest about it. It's forced me to really assess, how much of this is just anger, how much of this is just weirdness. I'm kind of repulsed by this person or that person. Am I letting my own emotions take over and just say to hell with it? I'll go be a Democrat or whatever. And so to speak to the shy Biden thing, first of all, you don't have to tell anybody whom you vote for. Secondly, you don't have to approve of a given person. I mean, one of the most powerful arguments that particularly conservative Christians make for voting for Trump is, I'm not voting for the person, I'm voting for the policies. Well, I think you can flip that around and say, I'm not voting for Biden's policies, I'm voting against the person of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And that this goes so far beyond next week that conservative Republicans have to make an assessment. What do we want the next 20, 30 years to look like? And we have seen the party take a turn towards darkness, where there is no longer any Christian charity for our opponents, where ideology can be tossed aside for short-term wins, and that making other people angry and saying cruel things is considered winning. Well, we can do that, or we can jettison that and try to find something else. Maybe that means voting for Joe Biden. Maybe that means not voting at all. But we have to think more strategically than the next 2 or 4 years.
My man, that is exactly right. I was so moved by your video. We got to get Monica or whoever else, whatever surprises they have for us on next. Thank you so much. And by the way, people, Cheves said he got some job opportunities out of this. 3 days left. We'll take your video still. We'll still take them.
Okay, now we got Monica here. Hey, Monica.
I just took all my
Take it away.
Ditto.
Cheves just disappeared there by whoever's managing this behind the scenes, some clever RVAT person. How are you? You're in Texas also, but not.
I am. I'm in a suburb north of Dallas.
And how are things going? And what's your sense of things? Thank you obviously for what you've done. And yours was a very popular video, and I remember tweeting it.
I got some hate for my eyebrows. There was a lot of talk about eyebrows, so I'm really I'm very mindful. Are they moving too much? What's happening?
I don't think so. You got a lot of
people are so mean.
From Hollywood, a lot of offers from Hollywood after the video.
That's exactly what happened. I mean, really similar to Cheves, at least as far as Bill, I saw you tweet out RVAT, like they had just started basically, right? And it was, hey, download your video. And I was at my office, so my video was really quiet because I don't want to, my walls are paper thin and I knew people could hear me. And I thought I'd be able to edit it or something. You just push send and there it went. It's out there. Everybody knows now. Similar sense. I think we were discussing earlier that I think there's some closet Biden people out there, especially in the evangelical community. I mean, thank God literally for David French, because his really well-reasoned, compassionate to the Christian community in terms of, look, I get it, I understand their issues, but just breaking it down. And John Piper, who is a theologian in the Christian community, did an excellent piece as well, because, I am very pro-life, but also coming to understand that it means everybody, respect for the dignity of human beings. And that's where I've lost it with Donald Trump in terms of just this tone. I mean, my own mother, tells me I should be ashamed of myself for speaking so publicly against this great patriotic president. Just what is going on? So, we get the heat. I mean, we definitely get the heat from our family and our friends. My brother's angry because I voted Democrat for our state senator because, well, if we could at least keep the Senate, what are you doing? You know, I get it, Trump's a clown, but no, not Hagar, you know. I think she's amazing. I think it'd be amazing to see MJ Hagar in the Senate. So
she, you know, MJ Hager. Speaking of MJ Hager, we're, you know, it's at the presidential level, but she is a Republican voter against Trump in the most technical sense. I mean, she voted
right on.
for W
Yeah.
and Romney. She said.
That's right.
So you know, she could have made a video for our site, really.
She could have, and she's middle of the road. Texans are middle of the road people, and even though there's a lot of, I mean, you know, we have a ton of evangelicals here, obviously, but even those guys are not super far right, you know, and that is the exception. It's been my experience. I've been part of mega churches for the last 25 years, and the majority of the folks that I come in contact with are more center right, not far right. And they are disgusted with this president. They won't say it out loud, not all of them, some will. Yes, he's disgusting, but, you know, and to Cheves's point, come on, man, at what point are you going to take accountability and responsibility for the fact that his behavior, his patterns of, you know, just this dangerous mindset he has, this damaging, divisive mindset, he's got to be accountable. That is the party now. That is the GOP now.
No, it's striking in Texas. I mean, I remember George W. Bush, compassionate conservative governor, huge outreach, especially to Latinos and others who hadn't been that thought to be welcomed by Republicans. But of course, his father before him and John Tower, who went down, ended up getting hurt by his personal behavior, but it was very much of a moderate sort of Republican on those types of issues. And then Perry as governor, most certainly on immigration. And I remember him still getting attacked in 2012, 2011, one of those Republican presidential debates, because he had perfectly sensibly, I think, the University of Texas had decided, I can't remember, it was the top 10%, it was something, it was some scholarship program. Universally available to Texas high school graduates, some of whom were obviously immigrants and some of whom were undocumented immigrants, and that they were this was terrible, that God forbid that someone graduate in the top 10% of his class and in Texas and go to the UT get some, get a merit scholarship. So yeah, that isn't, but now it's Dan Patrick and Alan West and Cornyn, who was not this type of person. I've known John.
He wasn't before.
Years. Sounds
and it's the greatest hypocrisy. It's a picture of the entire hypocrisy of the current GOP. We want you, immigrant labor, to mow our yards and take care of our kids and wash the dishes. But God forbid we make your lives better or help you get a pathway to citizenship. We don't want to pay you very much, but you shouldn't be here. But please be here and serve my sandwich. Like, what do you want? It's very confusing. And we created this whole build that wall nonsense, And I remember George Sr. and George Bush saying, Mexico's our friend, trying to foster that relationship with Vicente Fox and the other presidents of Mexico. And, they're our neighbor, they're our friend, not, build that wall and keep the dirty immigrants out. It's horrifying to me.
Monica, remind me, are you from Texas or are you a transplant?
I'm a transplant. I was born in Flushing, Queens.
Oh, really?
I'm first generation American.
Right near Shea. Well, not that far from Shea Stadium.
Not far from Shea Stadium.
Right.
I remember seeing a park and seeing that big globe for the World's Fair once.
Yeah.
But, my dad's a Cuban exile from 1959, and my mom's a Colombian immigrant, and so I'm first generation. You would think that would inform my parents a little bit more, and it's just not their decision. They don't see it. So.
I'm curious because I got every once in a while I do something wrong on Twitter. Very rarely. My tweets are almost
3 or 4 times a day. But
gold plated. My tweets are always gold. But I did a tweet a couple of weeks ago about the transplants coming to Texas, and I talked about Plano, which is
where I am right now.
Texas, right? You're in Plano.
Beautiful
Okay,
Plano.
there you go. So you can bring some expertise here. The numbers. There was a congressional poll of your district that had the Democrat winning. And I thought, and that really caught me off guard. It goes from Plano up to McKinney. I guess it's suburban Dallas, right? But you're
Very.
out there a little. You're out there a little bit. It's kind of the further suburbs, right?
I mean, it's all
Yeah.
one big conglomerate, you know.
Yeah. So I talked to us about that. I mean, I think this is part of the reason why it's changing. You know, this is not. We're not when we're talking about Trump losing ground in Houston and Austin and Dallas. We're not just talking about like the hipsters who live in the high rises downtown. You know, I mean,
No.
like what are you seeing out in kind of that part of the metro?
Well, I mean, I think maybe you're saying, you know, that whole, I do believe in the phenomenon of the suburban mom, right? I mean, the person who, like me, looks at this president and says, I wouldn't want my son to behave that way. It's kind of like, or I wouldn't want my husband to be that way or treat me that way, you know. And I mean, I'm not great with the whole, like, the numbers and all of that. I do know, I did see a chart that showed that Cohen County, which is where we are, has surpassed early voting from all time.
Yeah.
The number has exceeded the full number of participation, like Cheves said, but for this county as well, which is a very affluent Caucasian county. We have large immigrant populations in this county, but I don't know what their voting status is at this point. But the people who are involved are mostly, you know, going to be evangelical white folks in terms of politics here. But I have, you know, several friends who they're so appalled by the way he treats disabled people, his wife, his kids, other people, you know, that there's nobody who's off limits to mock and to ridicule, you know, on the daily by this guy. And just the fact that, you know, we're in a pandemic. What the hell are you doing tweeting 60 times a day? What is wrong with you? You know, just get back to work. And so maybe it's a mother's intuition thing or something, but just knowing there is something not right about this person, and he's going to bring all of us down with him.
Well, there was something that was making me feel good about that, because in my mind, Plano was like, you know, there are cattle roaming the road.
Oh, heck no. There used to be when I was a little girl growing up. But no, you can't distinguish anymore between McKinney, which is 30 miles north of Dallas, all the way down to Dallas. It is just one giant, you know, town anymore. But there are cows on my way home. I actually passed them.
We got a bunch of questions we got to take from the folks that are watching. Bill, do you have any other final thoughts, Bill or Monica?
No,
Monica, I do want to reveal
Monica.
one thing. You tested your video. So everybody sends in the video. We send them through. They test them. Your video tested, I think that this is correct, the highest out of all of the women who sent in a video, and it was like in the top 3 or 4. Guys end up testing better because of sexism, you know, because guys won't say that that they're convinced by women's videos, but yours managed to break through that sexism. So congratulations for that, and thank you so much.
Thank you for doing it, and we'll stay in touch. And
listen, I really, really appreciate it. It has been a godsend to not feel like a freak show. So I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for all the hard work you do.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Thank you, Monica.
Bye, Monica.
All right, Bill. So a couple questions from folks before we get through it. You know, this is, I think, an important point. It's from Alex. He's confused why people aren't seeing that Biden is more aligned with the moderate Republicans, and that when he's trying to convince people to vote, that they think that he's AOC.
It's been don't you think? I mean, it's been a good Fox News and the Trump campaign and others. A lot of Republican leaders have done a pretty good job for their base, I suppose, in making it seem like the entire Democratic Party is being led around by the nose by AOC and Ilhan Omar. And, you know, and it wasn't I would not like that if that happened, and I worry about it. But they sort of do slide over the fact that Biden defeated all those people. AOC did not support Biden in the primary. Bernie Sanders came closer to beating Hillary Clinton than he did to beating Joe Biden. And Biden explicitly refused to go along on a bunch of some of the economic issues, Medicare for all, went along a couple of things I wouldn't have, preferred he wouldn't have done. But really, in the big picture of things, if you care about a moderate Democratic Party and a moderate Republican Party, I think it's the right thing is to vote for Biden. It certainly strengthens the moderate Democrats because he'll be president of the United States. And I think we'll have a reasonably moderate administration. And it also means that being a Trumpy Republican isn't the path to victory. So whatever hope there is for a moderate Republican comeback, center-right comeback, would also be enhanced by a Biden victory. So I really think there's been kind of I don't know, brainwashing isn't the word, but yeah, kind of gaslighting of, Biden is just a tool of the extreme left and you can't vote for him. It's a little bit, I've known Joe Biden a lot. And I've argued with him on many issues, but he's not an extreme leftist.
Yeah, AOC literally said during the primary that if we were in Europe, she'd be in a different party as Joe Biden. So they took those. We've got just some shout outs. Cynthia, who's watching, she voted for Trump, voted for Biden this time. Thank you, Cynthia. Susie posted our videos on Facebook. Sounds like it created a little bit of a stir on her Facebook page, but a stir is a good thing. So thank you for posting it, Susie. That's why we're asking folks to post it. You will take a little heat, but it's the it's the heat that is worthwhile in service of the country, because it means that other folks, the persuadable folks, will actually see it and engage with it.
Yeah, very much. I mean, not just post yourself. Obviously, that's more appropriate. It's your page and your relatives and friends want to see you. But as I say, I've been struck how many people have posted other people's videos, when they know that it's something that would speak to various communities they're parts of, as veterans or pro-life or whatever. And so go ahead and do that too. And these things do go, it is a network effect. You get shared by 50 people see yours, and then 10 of those 50 post it themselves and 50 of them see it. It can have a pretty big effect. And I do think this is the moment. Normally I would say, honestly, it's awfully late in the campaign. Most people have made up their mind. Most of the work's been done. And that's true for the TV advertising and stuff. We're pretty much finished with our TV advertising. But I think for the truly undecided voters, the shy Biden voters, the people who haven't focused yet, who haven't wanted to really think too hard about it because it's been more comfortable just to say, yeah, I'm going to go along with Trump, like many of my neighbors. And then they sort of know deep down they don't really want to. It really could push people. I think this last 72 hours could be more people could change their mind or make up their mind or move a little bit than is normally the case.
And this happened in 2016. There was this late push towards Trump, and the undecideds broke towards him. And I could see it going the other way this time. So do your kind of part on that one. All right, Bill. People sat through 54 minutes of this. The election's Tuesday. We're going to give them a little bit of punditry candy. Part A is, where do you think things stand now as far as Tuesday? And then part B is from Paul. He wants to know what your and RVAT's plan is after Tuesday. You don't have to answer that one if you don't want, but I'll give you a chance on both.
Our plan, I just do it backwards, and then I want to hear Tim's punditry. Our plan is to go on, in various forms. Defending Democracy Together is the umbrella organization for RVAT. That will continue. The Bulwark, which is obviously our website, which has been awfully successful. And Tim has written great stuff for it. Jonathan Last is a fantastic editor. That's going to go on, and I think that can help form a new agenda. As someone said earlier on it can't just be the old conservatives and recycle. We've learned something over the last 4 years. We don't want to be on the left either, though, or cancel culture. So I really think it's an intellectual opportunity and a political opportunity going forward. It's going to be it's hard to predict what it's going to look like, obviously, but I think there's plenty of room for people who don't want socialism on the one hand and nativism on the other. Punditry, I think Biden's in good shape, but a weekend's a lifetime in politics, and everyone needs to just keep their foot to keep the pedal to the metal.
Well, I'm keeping my glasses on for this prediction so people don't recognize me afterwards. I've been nervous, Bill, all the way.
That's true. I can confirm this to everyone. All I do is reassure Tim and Sarah that it's going to be okay.
And I'm just biting my nails. But the numbers in Florida just have looked so good over the past week. 3 public polls, our private data, all has Biden gaining in Florida. And as I look at the map right now, there is just no path to victory for Trump without Florida. So it is Florida, just like 2000 again for me. If you have friends in Florida, please contact them and make sure that this happens across the final line. But the map I'm looking at right now, if Biden wins Florida, his lowest possible electoral vote count is 299. That's enough. So my lips to God's ears. The other thing you can watch, we did a final compilation video. Go to rvat.org. It was Barry Rubin, did a fantastic job. Sarah forgot to mention Cassie earlier, who's been doing the Lord's work, way more work than JJ, by the way, behind the scenes. So shout out to Cassie. Watch that video, post the RVAT videos. We're still running YouTube ads and stuff in the swing states, so send in $5 if you want. And we're just so grateful to everybody, and God willing, we can all get together next week and look at the numbers and talk about all the Republicans who voted against Donald Trump.
Thank you all. I really appreciate it.
All right, we'll see you all next time.